Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another 5-Book Friday. And this one we're featuring House in the title. And the reason I chose House in the title is because I just read 2 books and I just shared an update and they both had House in the title and I finished them in the same week. So I thought, there are a lot of books with House in the title. So I thought I would challenge myself and see what I could find. And for 5-Book Friday, I have to have at least 5 books on my shelf that relate to that topic or word. So I have over 5 books that relate to House in the title. So I have The Riddle of the Lonely House. This was the one that I just read. And I had read Bleak House. And so these were the 2 books that sparked my interest to see how many books I had on my shelf that had House in the title. And I've already just recently talked about these 2 in an update. I'll try to leave a link to that below. So I looked at my shelf after I finished those and thought, okay, what are the other books that I could talk about with House in the title? So I have 5 books with House in the title that I've read, and then 5 books with House in the title that I want to read that are still on my shelf. So the first one I want to share, and I've read this recently, and this one is a great one if you're reading Mansfield Park, because in the middle of it there is a little retelling of Mansfield Park in it. But don't read this until you've read Mansfield Park. It's Celia's House by D.E. Stevenson. I love D.E. Stevenson, and this is one of my favorites that she's written so far, because I'm trying to read all of them. There are a lot of D.E. Stevenson books, and this one is probably my most recent. I think it is my most recent Stevenson, and I loved it. It's called Celia's House. So that has House in the title. Number 2 is the one that we all think of automatically, and that is Little House on the Prairie. And I just received this copy. My husband surprised me with it because I have been trying to collect this particular edition of the Little House books. There's also Little House in the Big Woods, but I was thinking of this one because this one started it for me. I watched the show when I was a child. I loved it. I remember it came on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon after school. Mama would call us in to come watch it. But Little House on the Prairie is a favorite, and if you have not read the Little House series, I highly recommend this one by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Now the next 2 are Gothic fiction, and I do love Gothic fiction. And these 2 I read many years ago. I need to revisit both of these. The first is The House of Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I have another copy of this, but I love this little Oxford Pocket edition. It's a pretty little edition of this. This is Gothic fiction. It's a great example of Gothic fiction. This was published in 1851. Now this is, I don't hear a lot of people talk about this one, but I really enjoyed reading this. It is a slower read, but it is about this house. And I obviously, since I have so many on my shelf, I love a story where the house is the like a character. The setting of the house is like a character in the book. Kind of like The Fall of the House of Usher is that way by Edgar Allan Poe. I love it when the house is so much part of the story, and a lot of the story is about the house as a character itself. So The House of the Seven Gables is that type of story. It is Gothic fiction and has a lot of Gothic elements in it because there's like this curse on this house, and you learn that in the beginning, and then what happens because of the curse. And it goes all the way back to this, I think it's the Salem witch trials is where it starts. And this is, years after that. So I recommend The House of the Seven Gables. I really enjoyed reading this one. The next one is another favorite Gothic fiction classic, and that is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I do love this edition. It was published in 1959, and it is super popular. I know they've made a movie adaptation of this, but the movie adaptation, I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it's nothing like the book at all. So don't go by the movie if you've seen the movie, because this book is creepy. Shirley Jackson can be pretty creepy in her short stories as well as her novels. She can be creepy, but she's not scary to me. And I guess I don't see this really as a haunting. This is ambiguous. You can take it as in there's ghost and it's haunting, but you can also look at it as in this particular book. This is an unreliable narrator. So you have to take that in mind as you're reading it. So you can take it the other way as well, which makes for a great discussion. I think The Haunting of Hill House, well, anything by Shirley Jackson, but especially The Haunting of Hill House, is a great book for book clubs because there's a lot you can discuss about is she really seeing these things or not. So it is ambiguous, and Shirley Jackson is known for unreliable narrators and a lot of ambiguous endings, and just you have to kind of read between the lines in a lot of her books. So I do enjoy that about her. And again, I love Gothic fiction. The fifth with house in the title that I have read, technically I haven't read all of these, but I'm counting it as read because I've read most of them, is The English Country House Murders. Now this is a collection of short stories that are all mysteries, and there is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Wilkie Collins, G.K. Chesterton, Agatha Christie, I mean all the greats, P.D. James, Ethelena White. So there are some great authors in this collection, and I have really enjoyed this. Again, I haven't read every one of them, but I've read most in this collection, so I highly recommend this book as well. So those are the 5 books with house in the title that I've read from my shelf, and these are 5 books with house in the title that I haven't read yet. Let me know if you've read any of these. So the first one is a Victoria Holt, and this one is very Gothic as well, The House of a Thousand Lanterns, and I love this old vintage copy. And it says inside here, for Jane Lindsay, The House of a Thousand Lanterns has always held a strange fascination. Since her days as a schoolgirl in England, she had felt drawn to it. Now a shattering romance, a passion for Chinese art, and a marriage of convenience take her to Hong Kong and the House of a Thousand Lanterns, where she finds her presence unwanted and her life in danger. That sounds brilliant. That sounds like my kind of story. The marriage of convenience, traveling to a new place, a house at the center of all of that, and Gothic suspense. So let me know if you've read this. I do like reading Victoria Holt, but I haven't read this one, and it's been on my shelf for a while. I found this, I think, at a library sale, a thrift store or something, so I'm looking forward to trying that one. Rosamund Pilcher wrote one called The Empty House. This is just a little mass paperback copy. It says at 27, Virginia had been through the most intense experiences life had to offer. A magical first love ending in heartbreak, a suitable marriage, motherhood, and widowhood. All she wanted now was to take her daughter and son to a seaside cottage and help them recover. But Virginia's true love was there, waiting, hoping, praying that this time she would be strong enough to seize happiness. I always loved Rosamund Pilcher, but I've never heard anything about The Empty House. So let me know if you've read that one. So that's number 2. Number 3 is one, now this one's in the middle of a series, so I wouldn't read this one first. And I have this series on my stack, the first one in this series, to read this summer. And it is The Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter. And this one, I don't know what number this is. I think it's 1, 2, 3. This is probably 5 or 6. And it is The Tale of Hawthorne House. And these are pretty popular. And I love Beatrix Potter. I don't know anything about this series except that it's based on Hilltop Farm. And so that's why I'm interested in it, because I think there are some little creatures that have take part in the story. I'm not sure. And I think it's a cozy mystery type story. Let me know if you've read these. And then this one I should have already read. Number 4 on this list that I should have read is The Lake House by Kate Morton. This has probably been on my shelf longer than most of the books that I haven't read yet. So I do love Kate Morton, and I don't know why I've never read this one. This is super popular. Kate Morton's super popular, and I haven't read a Kate Morton that I haven't enjoyed. So I do look forward to reading this one. And then the fifth one, this was one I meant to read last year during the Moore Montgomery Challenge and didn't get to it. That is House of Dreams, The Life of L.N. Montgomery. And this is a middle grade biography of Montgomery. And so I have meant to read this for quite some time. I had pulled it off my shelf for the Moore Montgomery Challenge, but again, I didn't get to it. So this is one I would really like to read soon as well. So those are 5 books that I've read with House in the title, and 5 books that I still need to read from my shelf with House in the title. Let me know if you've read any of these, and let me know of a favorite book with House in the title in the comments so we can talk there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.